Movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Disney's Snow White remake. The words alone conjured images of fairy tale magic, a beloved classic reborn for a new generation. But what was supposed to be a triumphant revival quickly morphed into something else, something far more sinister. It became a Hollywood horror story, not of goblins and witches, but of public relations nightmares and box office bombs. And at the heart of this unfolding disaster, Rachel Zegler. Once hailed as the fresh face of Disney magic, a rising star set to illuminate the silver screen, she instead became the unwilling architect of a cinematic implosion. From Golden Girl to Public Enemy #1, how did this fairy tale dream turn into a Hollywood nightmare?
Movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
Finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
The anticipation was real. Disney promised a Snow White for the modern age, dripping with cutting-edge visuals and bold, fresh themes. They cast Rachel Zegler, a young actress brimming with talent and seemingly unafraid to speak her mind. Initially, this frankness was seen as a breath of fresh air. Her honesty in interviews, her unfiltered takes. It was engaging, even refreshing, in a world of carefully crafted celebrity personas. Fans were intrigued, critics were cautiously optimistic. But beneath the surface of this shiny new project, cracks were beginning to appear. Whispers of trouble started circulating, not from studio leaks or on-set drama, but from a much more public and volatile source, social media. And the first tremors of what was to come wouldn't be on a red carpet, but in the unfiltered chaos of an Instagram Live broadcast.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Then it happened. The now infamous Instagram Live session. This wasn't a minor slip-up, a misinterpreted quote. This was the pivotal moment, the point of no return in the Snow White saga. Zegler, speaking directly to her fans, unleashed a torrent of opinions that sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. She didn't just offer a modern take, she appeared to dismantle the very foundation of the story millions held dear. The original narrative, she declared, was outdated. The prince? Inconsequential. And the seven dwarfs? Well, let's just say her comments there sparked a controversy all their own. She seemed to mock the very idea of a classic fairy tale romance, the core of what made Snow White, Snow White. Clips from this live stream quickly surfaced, painting a picture of not just confidence, but something bordering on disdain. It wasn't just what she said, dismissing beloved characters and themes, it was how she said it. The tone, laced with what many interpreted as exasperation and even contempt, ignited a firestorm that Disney seemed utterly unprepared to handle. The internet erupted. Almost instantly, those live stream clips became viral ammunition. Memes were born. Social media exploded. Snow White Meltdown became a trending topic, a digital bonfire of outrage. Critics and fans alike unleashed their fury. Accusations of arrogance flew thick and fast. She was accused of disrespecting not only the original film, but the millions who cherished it. The hashtag wasn't just a fleeting trend. It was a rallying cry for those who felt their beloved fairy tale was being not just updated, but actively belittled. And the backlash wasn't just online noise. It translated into real-world consequences. Images began circulating of eerily empty theaters during advanced screenings. Opening weekend arrived, and the box office numbers were disastrous. Empty seats became visual proof of the online outrage manifesting in the real world. The excitement that had once surrounded Snow White had evaporated, replaced by a chilling silence and the deafening sound of box office failure. But the problems weren't just confined to social media and ticket sales. They were about to hit Disney where it really hurts. Their bottom line. The financial fallout was brutal. Hollywood flop became the inescapable label. Analysts tallied the losses. Hundreds of millions of dollars vanished. The Rotten Tomatoes score plummeted, sinking lower than anyone anticipated. Inside Disney, whispers turned to shouts. Panic was the word insiders used. Was this Snow White debacle Disney's biggest regret to date? The scale of the financial disaster forced a reckoning. Suddenly, future projects were in question. Would Disney shelf similar live-action remakes? Would they completely reevaluate their entire strategy? The once unstoppable Disney machine seemed to have stumbled, and stumbled hard. And then the most damaging question began to circulate within the industry. Was Rachel Zegler, once a rising star, now tainted, branded as box office poison? The financial wounds were deep, but the cultural implications of the Snow White meltdown ran even deeper, touching on something far more complex than just money. This wasn't just about a bad movie bombing. The Snow White controversy tapped into something much larger, something more volatile, the ongoing culture wars. It became a flashpoint in the ever-present tension between tradition and modernity, between nostalgia and progress. At its core was the clash between the desire to modernize a classic and the deep-seated love millions felt for the original. For many, the film didn't feel like a respectful update. It felt like an outright dismissal, even mockery, of the source material. The changes, particularly the perceived sidelining of romance and the reimagining of the dwarfs, struck a nerve. Lines were drawn, sides were taken. Some championed Zegler as a voice of progress, bravely challenging outdated tropes. Others saw her as disrespectful, arrogant, and out of touch with the very audience Disney was trying to reach. Progressive versus traditionalist, the battle lines were clear, and caught in the crossfire was Rachel Zegler herself. But what really drove her outspoken stance? Was it a genuine artistic vision, a miscalculated attempt at relevance, or something else entirely? Decoding Zegler's true intentions became a national pastime. Was she a visionary artist boldly pushing boundaries, or simply an actress who profoundly misjudged her audience? Some speculated she genuinely believed in the need for a radically modern Snow White, a story stripped of what she considered archaic elements. Perhaps she saw herself as empowering a new generation, dismantling outdated tropes and championing a more relevant narrative. But the execution, and particularly her public pronouncements, backfired spectacularly. What might have been intended as empowerment came across as condescension. She seemed to be lecturing fans, telling them their cherished memories were wrong. A vocal minority, particularly online, applauded her conviction, her refusal to back down. But the overwhelming public response was one of negativity. The perception solidified. Rachel Zegler was arrogant, out of touch, and ultimately responsible for the Snow White disaster. So, after all the online storms, the box office wreckage, and the cultural fallout, what's the final verdict on the Snow White meltdown? The Snow White meltdown became a cautionary tale etched into the annals of Hollywood history. It served as a stark reminder of the immense power of nostalgia and the perilous consequences of alienating a dedicated fan base. Disrespecting cherished classics, it turns out, can be box office suicide. The debacle raised profound questions about Hollywood's approach to remakes, about the delicate balance between innovation and reverence. Will this define Rachel Zegler's career moving forward? Will studios learn the hard lessons of this cinematic implosion, becoming more cautious, more respectful of the legacies they attempt to revive? The echoes of the Snow White meltdown continue to resonate. Disney dreamt of a fairy tale ending, a box office triumph, a beloved classic reborn. Instead, they got a Hollywood meltdown, a public relations catastrophe, and a stark lesson in the enduring power and the potential fragility of fairy tale magic. And the story, it seems, is far from over. The Snow White meltdown transcended the realm of mere movie reviews and box office analysis. It ascended to the status of a Hollywood parable, a cautionary tale whispered in studio executive suites and film school classrooms alike. It became a stark, undeniable reminder of the immense, often unpredictable power of nostalgia and the potentially devastating consequences of alienating a deeply invested fan base. Disrespecting cherished classics, it turned out, wasn't just a creative misstep. It could be, quite literally, box office suicide. The Snow White debacle forced a painful, industry-wide introspection, prompting profound questions about Hollywood's increasingly fraught relationship with remakes, reboots, and adaptations. It highlighted the delicate, often precarious balance between artistic innovation and respectful reverence for established legacies. Would this cinematic implosion serve as a turning point, a wake-up call for studios increasingly reliant on nostalgia-driven properties? Would it lead to a more cautious, more nuanced approach to reimagining beloved classics, one that prioritized honoring the source material while still striving for originality? And what of Rachel Zegler herself? Would the Snow White meltdown become a career-defining moment, a permanent stain on her professional trajectory? Or could she, like other Hollywood figures before her,